Well, they'll have the Razorback game on at Joe's.
Yeah, half price after taps, too. Yep.
They always do. I can't be there. I got to be at the game. I know who else can't be there. Andrew Hutchinson can't be at Joe's Grill and Cantina because he's got to be at the baseball game today, covering it for HawgBeat.com, part of the Rivals Network, and he is pinch hit. It is baseball season, so he's pinch hitting today.
He can cover from Joe's Grill this evening, right?
He doesn't want because now. I mean, have you been enjoying your media perch underneath the press box this year, Hutch? Because back in February, you guys looked like abominable snowmen sitting there in nature. It's gotten a little bit nicer, although still cold. Have you gotten used to your perch there?
I'm getting used to it. It's not near as nice as whenever we have to sit there during, the regionals or super regionals because there's, a ton of media there. Then it's, beautiful weather, perfect. It's great to be in the atmosphere. But you're right, those February games were pretty brutal. And honestly, the weather hasn't gotten that much better. I mean, I'm still having to wear a jacket, things like that. I'm cold-natured anyways, but, it is what it is. I'll take it.
Yeah, it's baseball, and I know you'll take it because this has been a really fun team to cover, obviously, when you get a number one team in the nation. And finally getting back to a midweek game, the last one of the season. I'm kind of strapping myself in for like a 3.5 hour to 4 hour game tonight, Hutch. I'm sorry if you think that me just saying that might jinx it into actually happening, but when you look at the truths here, that Arkansas is throwing pitchers that haven't been pitching very much and have struggled with command, and Arkansas State averages 6 walks a game pitching-wise. I think we're going to see a lot of walks tonight.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think you're right. I mean, that's typical of most midweek games, as you know. But, yeah, looking at Arkansas State's numbers, they don't exactly pitch very well. They're bottom 20 in the country in ERA and whip. I mean, factor in the fact that Arkansas doesn't mind taking walks either. So they're going to probably make them throw a lot of pitches, and hopefully from an Arkansas standpoint, Jackson Wiggins making his first career start will be able to go out there and throw strikes, fill up the zones. I mean, we all know he's an incredibly talented pitcher. It's just a matter of can he throw his pitches consistently for strikes, and if he does, Arkansas State's got a good lineup, but I don't think they've faced too many 6'6" dudes who could throw 98.
Yeah, and also, I mean, there really aren't a lot of 6'6" dudes that throw 98 that don't pitch much in a month. Now, of course, a lot of it has to do with, I think, 2 factors. One, you haven't had any midweek games because of weather, COVID, finals. And the other factor is the role that he was slotted into has been taken over by the guy he was supposed to be setting up. Kevin Kopps is his own setup man. And it's been proven by now that he's just as effective 2 days after he pitches, sometimes the day after he pitches, as he is the first day that he pitches. So, I think this is huge for Jackson Wiggins because this is now a role that once you get into the postseason, the Hogs are going to need that third starting pitcher. He still could be that guy.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I mean, Kevin Kopps has been unbelievable to the point where you don't even really need Jackson Wiggins. I mean, if you look at Wiggins' numbers, I think he's got like a ERA over 5, but that's really kind of inflated by one bad outing out of 12 against an Ole Miss team that has a pretty good lineup. So take that out, and he's got a sub-2 ERA. He's got 4 saves from earlier in the year. So he is a very effective pitcher, and he's a guy that Van Horn has said multiple times that he sees him being a potential Friday night guy down the line and in the future. And if you could get him to be just kind of scratch the surface of that potential this year, then I think you could be really dangerous because we know Wicklander has become, a bona fide SEC ace. Paulette has had flashes and can be a solid number 2 guy. If he could be that number 3 guy, then you're sitting pretty, going into the postseason.
Hutch, why is this team so good? I've had conversations with people that will point to aspects of the 2018 team and think, that 2018 team, they think overall was a better team, and the starting pitching was more settled. You had probably more relievers that you felt you counted on in 18 than you do right now. Nobody doing what Kevin Kopps is doing, and that's for sure. But Hutch, the thing I keep coming back to is that 2018 team lost 5 SEC series. Remember, they never won a road series. They swept all but 1 series at home. This team hasn't lost a series yet. They just know how to win games. How do they do this?
Yeah, it's been unreal how they've been able to win games. Because you're right. I mean, I look back at that 2018 team, and I just think that was. I still think that's Dave Van Horn's best team. I mean, it was just so complete from top to bottom. Bullpen, starting pitching, the lineup. Now, this year's lineup, I think, has probably been the key to the team's success. It's just, 1 through 9, it's very, very good. I mean, people, at least on our message board, on social media, have complained about, Jalen Battles hasn't been hitting that well. I mean, he's still hitting like 260, and, he just had a huge home run in Game 3 against Georgia. So he could swing the bat. Most teams don't have, their worst hitter, still hitting 250, 260, in SEC. So to have that 1 through 9, and everyone, and pretty much every one of those guys has a bunch of power. Guys that could get you extra base hits, and they're also just tough outs. I mean, they do strike out, but I mean that's part of the game in today's world. But they do draw walks. I know they at one point were leading the country in total walks. So they just get on base. They work other pitchers' pitch counts up. Get the starters out of the game and get into that bullpen, and that's when they usually do their damage. And I think the pitching is done just enough. It's definitely not great like what we've become accustomed to, but it is good enough with a lineup as dangerous as Arkansas has to win a lot more than they lose.
Andrew Hutchinson joining us here on Halftime. Hutch, want to keep it with pitching just for a second. You kind of brought up what I was going to allude to. Obviously, Wicklander's your ace. Peyton Paulette has played really well and struggled a little bit this past weekend. But as it stands right now with not necessarily a bona fide Sunday starter, can this pitching staff lead this Razorback team to where they want to be to the College World Series and then try to win the whole thing with the pitching staff as it currently sits right now?
Oh, man, I'd feel a lot better if you asked me this question tomorrow after we saw how Jackson Wiggins did tonight, because I think that could answer a lot of questions. But as it is right now, I think it's good enough to get to Omaha for sure, because we've seen how good Arkansas can be, and if you're playing at home in the regional and super regional, I feel like they've got enough pitching to get that done. Now, can they do it in Omaha, especially at a ballpark where you can't really rely on home runs? I mean, TD Ameritrade is definitely a pitcher's ballpark, and so I'm not sure if it'll be enough to win a national championship, which I think is what Arkansas fans really want at this point. I mean, making it to Omaha is fantastic and shouldn't be overlooked, but I think Arkansas fans are at the point where, like, all right, we've been to Omaha a bunch, let's finally win one. And I'm not 100% sold on it, but every week goes by and they just keep winning series, and I'm thinking, man, this team may just have that it factor that can, they find ways to win even when the pitching isn't that great. Even there's been a handful of games where the hitting hasn't been there, and they've still found a way to come up with clutch hits and score runs and win games. So, I'm not 100% sure. I'm not sold on it, but I'm definitely feeling a lot better about the pitching, as every week goes by and they keep finding ways to win.
And you alluded to when you started off right there, talking about you'd feel a lot better after seeing what Jackson Wiggins could do tonight. So let's assume Jackson Wiggins, for the sake of conversation, goes 7 innings, 2 hits, no runs, has a great outing this evening. Your confidence level will probably go up because that could theoretically be your Sunday guy. And I understand there's a drastic difference between Arkansas State and Tennessee, Arkansas State and Florida, but you got to have that confidence level. And if he can come out strong tonight, or maybe someone coming out of the bullpen like a Connor Nolan, a Zebulon Vermillion, your confidence level would have to go up then. And then this is a different conversation, obviously.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if he went 7 innings tonight, I don't know how much they'd be able to use him this coming weekend against Tennessee, because it would be going from Tuesday to presumably Sunday to start. But that would definitely give you a lot of confidence moving forward. For the Florida series, the SEC tournament, and then obviously the postseason. But I mean, if he could do that, that would be incredible. And plus, you mentioned it, Arkansas State isn't a Tennessee or Florida. But Arkansas State does have a really good offense. I mean, they've put up a lot of runs against teams like Mississippi State, Ole Miss, and Oklahoma. Some of those have been in midweek games and aren't, against the best pitching. But still, this is a team that can swing the bat. So if Wiggins can go out there and give you a really good start, I'd feel really good if he could just go out there and give them 5 really solid innings tonight, that would make me feel really good because the stuff is there. You know, if he could just get to where he can be more consistent, you know, get that confidence up, which probably has something to do with it, that would be really, really good for Arkansas.
Hutch, real quick before we let you go, we talked right before we got you on, talked about the SEC softball awards were announced, and Hutch, the SEC or Razorback softball team, brought home a lot of trophies to put in that trophy case, with 5 girls getting on the all SEC teams, different ones getting newcomers of the year, all defensive teams. Courtney Doffel, coach of the year. This is a big deal, and a big congrats to that Razorback softball team. Your thoughts just on Arkansas doing really well with these awards that were announced today?
Yeah, I know some Arkansas fans may see that Mary Half was the co-pitcher of the year and get kind of all up in arms because of how the baseball team has done in the co-regards. So, but still, I mean, Mary Half, if you look at her numbers, are very similar to the girl she's sharing the award with. So totally understandable there. The one that I was a little bit surprised with was Braxton Burnside. She was a first-team selection. But I honestly thought she was deserving of Player of the Year honors, or at least co-Player of the Year honors. I mean, she has 24 home runs, that's second in the country. She's got a legitimate shot at breaking the SEC single-season home run record. She's hitting close to 350. For her to not at least be a co-Player of the Year with the girl from Alabama who is hitting over 400, tremendous year. I'm not taking away anything from her. But if you're going to do co-Pitchers of the Year, you might as well do co-Players of the Year and give Braxton Burnside some of that recognition, because she has had arguably the best offensive season in school history this year.
Hutch, I'm going to change directions here with you very briefly before we let you go. How the heck do you stay so organized and on top of everything?
It's a great question.
Because you cover like 25 different sports for a website that's got 2 employees. I don't know how you do this. Can you help me with organization sometimes, because I'm a complete mess?
Yeah, I don't know how I do it sometimes. It's hard to keep it all straight in my head, especially, you know how big of a numbers guy I am. I've sometimes just got random numbers just floating around in my head, and sometimes it's a little bit difficult. Luckily, I've put some of it down in spreadsheets on my computer, and, you know, like you, I like to keep a really nice book for baseball. My scorebook is nice and neat and everything. It's good to kind of go back and look at. But yeah, I mean, how I keep track of some of this stuff, I'm honestly not sure. I'm pretty much just constantly on Twitter and seeing all the news as it happens. You know, just hope that I don't miss anything, because every now and then something gets by me. But luckily, that hasn't happened in a while.
Quick answer: how many browser pages and tabs do you have up right now?
Let me see. I think 8 or 9, something like that. I just closed a few, so that helps me. Yeah,
Evan in Fayetteville asked that question. You beat him on browser screens right now, 9-8. Well done, Hutch. You are the champion today. We appreciate you pinch hitting for Nikki. Thanks so much.
Thanks, man.
Tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys.
You got it. He is the browser tab champion of the day on halftime. Although, hold on a minute. Let me see what I got up here. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I got 9. We're tied. Is there a tiebreaker for browser page tab champion?
Depends on what you got pulled up.
It's all sports. I'm going to guarantee you that. Not everybody at work can say that they actually have just work pulled up on their computer. I actually do. And if you buy that, I got another bridge to sell you. 877-377-6963. We'll wrap the first hour up of halftime right after this.